There's a particular kind of silence that certain children learn to carry. It's not the silence of peace or contentment. It's the silence of a small person who has learned, without ever being told directly, that their presence is optional, that their voice might be an interruption, that their needs are something to be managed quietly, preferably alone. You've felt this, haven't you? That strange sensation of existing in a room full of people while somehow remaining unseen. Not because you were hidden, but because no one was quite looking. Not because you were quiet by nature, but because you learned that speaking rarely changed the fact that attention was flowing elsewhere, always elsewhere. Now dim those lights, get cozy, settle into your pillow, and let yourself relax. Take a breath. Tonight, we're exploring something that may live in your body as a memory you can't quite name. The psychology of being ignored as a child, not abused in the obvious ways, not abandoned dramatically, just overlooked, unattended to, present but unseen. And if this resonates with something deep inside you, know that what you experienced was real, what you felt was reasonable, and what you carry now makes sense. You don't need to solve anything tonight. You just need to rest, to feel held by understanding, and to let yourself soften into sleep. There's a particular pattern that emerges in childhood that most people never name. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't arrive as a single moment you can point to and say, quote, 0. Instead, it accumulates quietly over months and years. You reach for attention and find air. You speak and notice that no one quite heard. You accomplish something and realize the acknowledgement you expected never arrives. Not once, but again and again, until the reaching itself begins to feel foolish. This is how invisibility becomes learned, not taught explicitly, but absorbed through repetition. Your nervous system begins to understand something fundamental. Your presence does not reliably create response, and that understanding shapes everything that follows. The brain of a young child is remarkable in its capacity to adapt. When faced with patterns in the environment, it learns, it adjusts, it finds ways to navigate whatever world it's been born into. And when that world includes emotional inattention, when your bids for connection go consistently unmet, the brain doesn't interpret this neutrally. It can't. A child's mind is designed to extract meaning from experience, to create narratives that make sense of what's happening. And so when you reach out and find nothing reaching back, when you express something and notice it doesn't land, when you exist and find yourself overlooked, your young mind begins forming a conclusion, not consciously, not in words you could speak, but somewhere deep in the architecture of your developing sense of self, a belief begins to form. Perhaps something about me isn't quite worth noticing. This belief doesn't arrive with fanfare. It settles in quietly, like dust accumulating so gradually you don't notice until suddenly everything is covered. You begin to assume your feelings are less important than others. You start to expect that your needs should be manageable on your own. You learn to make yourself smaller, quieter, less demanding of space and attention. And your nervous system, that ancient survival mechanism, begins to wire itself around this understanding. It learns that safety lies in not asking for too much, that acceptance comes from being easy, undemanding. The child who doesn't create problems because problems mean visibility, and visibility is proven unpredictable at best, absent at worst. Research in developmental psychology has shown us something important about how young minds form their sense of self. Children need what's called emotional attunement, a kind of mirroring where a caregiver reflects back the child's emotional experience, validates it, responds to it. When you cry and someone comes. When you're excited and someone shares that excitement. When you're scared and someone offers comfort. This repeated pattern of expression and response teaches the developing brain something crucial. I matter. My inner world is real and important. I am worthy of attention and care. But when that attunement is inconsistent or largely absent, when emotional expression doesn't reliably lead to emotional response, the brain learns something different. It learns that perhaps the inner world isn't so important after all, that feelings are something to manage privately, that the self is something to keep contained. And as you lie here now, taking in this understanding, you might notice your breath. Notice how it moves in and out of your body without you having to tell it to. Feel the gentle rise of your chest as air flows in, the soft fall as it flows out. You don't need to control your breathing or change it in any way. Just notice it. Notice too where your body makes contact with the bed beneath you. Your shoulders, your back, your hips, all supported, all held by the surface beneath you. Let your jaw soften if it's clenched. Let your tongue rest gently against the roof of your mouth. Let your face relax, all those tiny muscles around your eyes and forehead releasing their grip. This pattern you experienced, this learning to disappear, it makes sense. It was adaptive. Your younger self found a way to navigate an environment that wasn't meeting your emotional needs, and you survived. You found a strategy that worked, even if it came at a cost. There's something almost tender about recognizing that, isn't there? The way your young mind did its best to figure out how to be safe, how to be acceptable, how to minimize the pain of reaching and finding nothing. You weren't weak. You weren't broken. You were adapting to circumstances you didn't choose and couldn't control. You don't need to analyze this more deeply tonight. You don't need to understand every nuance or trace every cause and effect. You can simply let this recognition settle gently. The knowledge that what you experienced was real and that your response to it made sense. Let your shoulders drop a little. Let your body sink a bit deeper into rest. You're safe here. There's nothing you need to figure out right now. Nothing you need to fix or solve. You can simply be here, breathing, resting, allowing yourself to soften as we continue this gentle exploration together. When a child experiences consistent emotional inattention, the brain doesn't interpret this as neglect in the way an adult might. The child doesn't think quote 1 or quote 2. Instead, the developing mind does what it's designed to do. It personalizes. It creates meaning. And the meaning it creates is simple and devastating. Something about me must not be worth noticing. This isn't dramatic thinking. It's the brain trying to make sense of patterns. If I'm here and no one responds, the brain concludes, then perhaps I'm not quite important enough to respond to. Perhaps my feelings aren't as significant as I thought. Perhaps I need to ask for less, expect less, be less. And slowly, without realizing it's happening, you begin to disappear yourself before anyone else can. There's a particular quality to this kind of learning. It happens beneath conscious awareness, encoded in the neural pathways that govern how you relate to yourself and others. The hippocampus, that small seahorse-shaped structure deep in your brain, works together with your emotional centers to lay down memories of these repeated experiences. And over time, these memories create patterns, templates for how relationships work, expectations about what you can reasonably ask for, beliefs about your own worthiness of attention and care. This isn't happening because there's something wrong with your brain. Your brain is doing exactly what brains are designed to do, learning from experience, adapting to environment, finding patterns that help predict and navigate the world. By the time you're 5 or 6 or 7 years old, these patterns are already well established. You've learned to scan the emotional climate of a room before entering. You've developed the ability to read subtle cues in others' expressions and adjust your behavior accordingly. You know, without thinking about it, when someone is available for connection and when they're not. And more importantly, you've learned to assume they're probably not available for you. You've learned to carry your emotional world privately, to process your feelings alone, to expect that comfort and attunement are not reliably available, so you stop looking for them, you stop reaching, you become self-sufficient out of necessity, independent not because you chose it, but because dependence proved too painful. The developmental psychologist John Bowlby spent years studying how children form attachments to their caregivers, and what happens when those attachments are insecure or disrupted. He found that children need what he called a quote 3, a reliable source of comfort and safety they can return to when the world feels overwhelming. When that secure base is present, children develop confidence in their own worthiness, trust in others' availability, and a sense that the world is generally safe and navigable. But when that secure base is absent or inconsistent, children develop different strategies. Some become anxiously attached, constantly seeking reassurance. Others become avoidantly attached, learning to suppress their need for connection. And some, like perhaps you, learn a kind of resigned invisibility, not loudly protesting the absence of attention, but quietly accepting it as the way things are. Notice your hands now, wherever they're resting. Are they holding any tension? Let your fingers unfurl a little if they're curled. Let your palms soften. Feel the weight of your arms, how they're supported by the bed or resting on your body. Let them be heavy, loose, relaxed. Your hands don't need to hold on to anything right now. They can simply rest. And as your hands soften, maybe you notice your chest opening a little, your breathing becoming slightly easier, slightly deeper. Your whole body can begin to release, bit by bit, letting go of tension you didn't even realize you were carrying. This understanding we're developing tonight, This recognition of how you learn to be invisible, it's not about blame. Your caregivers were likely doing the best they could with their own histories, their own wounds, their own limited resources. They may have been overwhelmed or depleted or simply never taught how to attune to a child's emotional needs. This isn't about making them wrong. It's about making your experience real, about validating that something important was missing, that the absence had impact, that what you felt and learned and carried forward makes perfect sense given what you lived through. You're not being dramatic. You're not making too much of it. You're simply recognizing truth. And you can hold that truth gently tonight. You don't need to do anything with it. Don't need to confront anyone or change anything or figure out how to heal it all at once. You can simply let it exist here with you in this quiet darkness, acknowledged and real, while you let yourself sink deeper into rest. Let your eyelids feel heavy now. Let your whole face relax. Let your mind begin to wander and drift, not holding on to any particular thought, just floating gently as we continue exploring together, as you move slowly, naturally, towards sleep. Children who are consistently ignored often develop a particular adaptation. They learn to silence themselves before speaking, to sminiuses their needs before expressing them, to decide in advance that what they want probably isn't important enough to mention. This isn't a conscious choice, it's a protective response. Because if you don't ask, you can't be disappointed. If you don't reach, you won't feel the absence of hands reaching back. Your younger self, in their quiet wisdom, found a way to avoid repeated hurt. They stopped creating opportunities for it. They became small, undemanding, easy. The child who never complains, the one who seems fine, the one everyone assumes doesn't need much. But inside, that child is still there, still wanting, still hoping someone might notice without being asked. This preemptive silence becomes so automatic over time that you may not even realize you're doing it. It operates beneath conscious awareness, a reflex that activates before you even finish forming a want or need in your mind. Someone asks what you'd like for dinner, and before you can access your actual preference, the reflex kicks in. Quote 4. Someone asks if you need help, and immediately the answer is quote 5. Someone offers to listen, and you hear yourself saying quote 6. The words come out before you can consider whether they're true, because somewhere deep down the system that governs your self-expression learned long ago that expressing needs is risky, that wanting things is uncomfortable, that asking for attention might lead to the pain of not receiving it, and it's safer to not ask at all. This adaptation served a purpose when you were young and powerless. It protected you from disappointment, from feeling the full weight of being unseen. But over time, this protective mechanism can become a prison. Because now, as an adult in different relationships with different people, you're still operating from that old programming. You're still silencing yourself preemptively, still minimizing your needs before anyone else can, still making yourself small and easy and undemanding, even when the people around you might actually want to know what you need, might actually be willing to show up for you. The old pattern persists not because it's still necessary, but because it's deeply wired, automatically activated before you can question whether it's still serving you. The neuroscientist Bessel van der Kolk has written extensively about how the body keeps score, how traumatic or painful patterns get encoded not just in conscious memory, but in the nervous system itself. The body learns to brace, to guard, to protect, and emotional neglect, though less obvious than physical trauma, still teaches the body to contract, to minimize, to take up less space. Your throat might tighten before you speak. Your chest might constrict when you have a need. Your body learned early that expression led nowhere good, so it began shutting down expression before it could fully form. This is wisdom in a way. Painful wisdom perhaps, but wisdom nonetheless. Your body trying to protect you the only way it knew how. Let yourself feel your throat now. Is it tight or constricted? Just notice without trying to change it. Notice your chest, how it's moving with your breath. If there's any tightness there, you can breathe into it gently, just acknowledging its presence. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears if they've crept up. Let your neck soften, releasing the weight of your head completely into the pillow beneath you. Your body has been working so hard to protect you for so long. It can rest now. It can soften. It can let go, at least for tonight. And as you notice these sensations, as you feel your body beginning to release, you might also notice a feeling beneath all this. Maybe sadness for that younger version of you who learned to disappear. Maybe anger at circumstances that required such a painful adaptation. Maybe just a dull ache, a recognition of all the ways you've been carrying this alone. Whatever's there, it's okay. You don't need to push it away or analyze it or fix it. You can simply let it be there while you rest. Let your feelings exist without having to do anything about them. They're allowed to be here. You're allowed to feel them, and none of it needs to be resolved tonight. Let your breathing deepen just slightly if that feels natural. Let each exhale release a little more tension. Let yourself sink further into the bed beneath you, feeling how completely you're supported, how you don't have to hold yourself up. You're held, you can rest, you can let go. And as you do, we'll continue exploring gently, understanding more about this pattern, about what you learned and how it shaped you, all while you drift closer and closer to sleep. By the time you reach adolescence, something has solidified inside you. A belief so deep it feels like truth. You should be able to handle things on your own. Asking for help feels uncomfortable, almost shameful. You've internalized the idea that needing support is a burden, that emotional needs are optional, that self-reliance is not just a skill, but a requirement for being acceptable. This belief didn't come from nowhere. It came from a childhood where your emotional world went largely unattended, where you learned that expressing vulnerability didn't reliably bring comfort, so you stopped expressing it. You became competent out of necessity, strong because there was no alternative, independent not by choice, but by adaptation. And while the world may praise your self-sufficiency, inside there's often a quiet exhaustion, a tiredness that comes from carrying everything alone for so long. This self-sufficiency looks impressive from the outside. You're capable, responsible, someone others can count on. You don't fall apart easily. You manage challenges with calm determination. You seem to have it all together. But inside, there's often a different experience, a sense of isolation even when surrounded by people, a bone-deep tiredness that comes from never letting yourself lean on anyone, a quiet resentment that builds when you watch others ask for help so easily, so naturally, without the shame and discomfort that floods your system when you even consider reaching out. You tell yourself you don't need help, but what you really mean is, needing help feels too vulnerable, too risky, too reminiscent of all the times you needed something as a child and found yourself alone with that need. There's research showing that children who experience emotional neglect often develop what's called a dismissive attachment style. They learn to minimize the importance of emotional connection, to prize independence above interdependence, to view needing others as weakness. This isn't conscious philosophy, it's survival strategy encoded in neural pathways. The psychologist Mary Ainsworth studied these patterns in children, observing how they behaved when separated from caregivers. Some children protested loudly, others seemed indifferent, and some showed confusion. Those who seemed most independent, most untroubled by separation, often weren't actually more secure. They had simply learned that protest didn't help, that expressing distress didn't bring comfort, so they stopped expressing it. They appeared fine on the surface while managing everything alone underneath. You might recognize yourself in this pattern. The child who didn't cry when dropped off at school, the teenager who never asked for rides or help with homework, the adult who moves through life appearing self-reliant while privately struggling with the weight of it all. This independence isn't freedom. It's an adaptation born from necessity. True independence comes from having dependence needs met sufficiently that you can then venture out confidently. False independence comes from learning that dependence is unsafe, so you bypass it entirely and rely only on yourself. The problem is humans aren't designed for complete self-sufficiency. We're social creatures who need connection, support, witnessing, and when you've wired yourself to reject those needs, you end up functioning but not fully living, capable but chronically depleted. Notice your body now. Feel how your legs are resting heavy and still. Feel your feet all the way down to your toes, completely relaxed. Your whole body is being supported by what's beneath you. You don't have to hold yourself up. You don't have to be strong right now. You can let the bed hold your weight. You can let gravity do the work. Your body knows how to rest when you give it permission. Let your belly soften. No need to hold it in or keep it tense. Let your lower back release into the mattress. Let yourself be completely, fully supported. This exhaustion you carry, this tiredness from being self-sufficient for so long, it makes sense. It's not weakness. It's the natural consequence of holding everything alone. You're tired because being hyper-independent is exhausting. Because never leaning on anyone means carrying every weight yourself. Because managing all your emotions privately takes enormous energy. You're not failing. You're human. And tonight, you don't have to be strong. You don't have to be capable or competent or self-sufficient. You can simply be tired. You can simply rest. You can let yourself be held by this moment, by this darkness, by the understanding that you don't have to carry everything tonight. Let your mind begin to wander now. Let thoughts drift in and out without grabbing onto them. You don't need to follow any train of thought to its conclusion. You don't need to figure anything out or solve anything or understand everything. You can simply float here, breathing softly, sinking deeper, letting your body rest while we continue exploring gently, quietly, moving together toward the sleep you need and deserve. One of the most enduring impacts of childhood emotional neglect is the way you learn to speak about yourself. You minimize reflexively. Someone asks how you're doing, and even if you're struggling, you hear yourself say, quote 7, or quote 8, or quote 9. This isn't lying, it's a learned way of existing. You were never given consistent permission to matter fully, so you learn to take up less emotional space. You compare your pain to others and decide yours isn't significant enough to voice. You dismiss your own experiences before anyone else can. This self-erasure becomes so automatic that you may not even realize you're doing it. But somewhere inside, there's a part of you that knows, that remembers, that still wants to be asked again, more directly, more insistently, in a way that makes it clear what you feel actually matters. This minimization serves multiple functions. It protects you from the vulnerability of being fully seen in your struggle. It prevents others from having to deal with your emotional reality, making you easier to be around. It allows you to maintain the story that you're fine, that you don't need much, that you can handle things. But underneath all these protective functions, the minimization does something else. It continues the pattern of emotional invisibility that began in childhood. You're doing to yourself what was once done to you. You're making your own experience less important, less real, less worthy of attention. And this self-directed neglect compounds the original wound. Because now it's not just that others didn't see you, it's that you've learned to not see yourself. When you say quote 10 when you're not, when you say it's nothing when it's something, when you say quote 12 when you're hurting, you're engaging in a form of self-abandonment. You're leaving yourself alone with difficult feelings the way you were left alone as a child, and part of you knows this. Part of you feels the betrayal of it, even as another part insists it's necessary, that people don't really want to hear about your struggles, that your problems aren't significant enough to merit attention. These two parts battle quietly inside you, one desperately wanting to be known, and the other urgently trying to stay hidden. And the exhaustion of that internal conflict adds to all the other ways you're tired. The therapist Alice Miller wrote about how children learn to betray themselves, to abandon their own truth in service of maintaining connection with caregivers. When your authentic self wasn't welcomed or responded to, you learned to present a more acceptable version. And over time, you may have lost touch with what's actually true for you beneath all the minimization and dismissal. You genuinely don't know how you're doing sometimes because you've been dismissing your own experience for so long that you can't access it clearly anymore. The feelings are there, but they're muted, distant, hard to name. And when someone asks how you are, the automatic quote 13 comes out not just to protect them or to protect yourself, but because you're not sure anymore what the real answer would be. Let yourself feel your chest now. the gentle rise and fall with your breath. Notice if there's any tightness or heaviness there in that space where feelings often live. You don't need to change it or fix it. Just acknowledge it's there. Let your breath move around it and through it. Let your exhales carry away just a little bit of whatever tension you're holding. Your jaw can soften even more. Your tongue can rest easy in your mouth. Your eyes can settle deeper into their sockets, resting, not looking at anything, just closed and still. You're not wrong for minimizing. You learned this as a survival strategy, and it worked. It kept you safe, kept you acceptable, kept you from feeling the full pain of being unseen. But tonight, you can acknowledge that it also kept you from being fully known. And that matters. That's real. You don't have to change this pattern right now. You don't have to suddenly start announcing every feeling or making yourself more visible than feels safe. You can simply notice the pattern exists. Simply recognize that somewhere underneath all the "I'm fine," there's a truth that's been waiting a long time to be acknowledged. And maybe, just maybe, that truth can be acknowledged here, in this quiet darkness, where there's no one to perform for and nothing to prove. Let your whole body sink deeper now. Let your breath slow naturally without forcing it. Let your mind drift, thoughts becoming softer, less distinct, fading into background. You're safe here. You can rest here. You don't need to be anything except exactly what you are right now. A person resting, a person breathing, a person slowly, gently, moving towards sleep while being held by understanding. Children who grow up emotionally ignored often develop a particular kind of awareness. They become exquisitely attuned to other people's emotional states. They read faces, tone, body language with remarkable accuracy. They can sense tension before it's spoken, discomfort before it's acknowledged. This isn't a gift they chose, it's a survival skill. When you couldn't rely on others to attend to you, you learned to attend to them. You became the one who monitors the room, who adjusts their behavior based on what others need, who manages emotional climates without being asked. This hypervigilance can look like empathy, and sometimes it is, but often it's exhausting. Because you're constantly scanning, constantly adjusting, constantly working to be acceptable, lovable, worth keeping around. Your nervous system never fully relaxes. It's always on alert, waiting for signs that you might be too much, too needy, too present. This hypervigilance develops as a way of trying to predict and prevent rejection. If you can sense that someone is getting irritated or overwhelmed or pulling away, you can adjust your behavior before they fully withdraw. You can become smaller, quieter, more accommodating. You can preemptively manage their discomfort so they don't have to reject you directly. This strategy makes sense. It's a way of maintaining connection, however tenuous, by constantly adapting to others' needs and moods. But it comes at an enormous cost, because when you're always scanning others, you're not present with yourself. When you're always adjusting to others' emotional states, you lose track of your own. You become so externally focused that your internal landscape becomes unfamiliar territory. Research on complex trauma and developmental stress shows that children who grow up in unpredictable emotional environments often develop a hyperactive threat detection system. The amygdala, your brain's alarm center, becomes overly sensitized. It begins to perceive threat where there may be none, interpreting neutral expressions as potential rejection, reading normal human variation in mood as signs of your own inadequacy. This isn't paranoia, it's pattern recognition based on early experience. When connection was unreliable in childhood, your brain learned to be vigilant for signs of disconnection. Better to over-detect and stay safe than to miss a warning sign and face abandonment. But this vigilance is draining. It means you can rarely fully relax in relationships. You're always subtly monitoring, checking, assessing. Is everything okay? Are they upset? Did I say something wrong? Should I be different right now? This constant internal questioning creates a barrier to genuine intimacy, because you're never quite fully present. Part of you is always standing guard, watching for danger, ready to adjust. And over time, this can lead to a strange exhaustion, where you feel tired by connection even though you desperately want it. Because connection requires being with another person, while simultaneously monitoring them for signs of rejection or withdrawal, and that dual awareness is perpetually depleting. Feel your shoulders now. Are they up near your ears? See if you can let them drop, just softening downward, releasing any tension they're holding. Feel your upper back, that space between your shoulder blades. Let it relax. Let it melt into the bed beneath you. Notice your neck, how it's supporting your head. You can let that support be complete. You can let your head be heavy, fully held by your pillow. There's nothing you need to watch for right now. Nothing you need to monitor or manage. You can let your vigilance rest, at least for tonight. This hypervigilance you developed, it makes sense. It was adaptive. But it also means you've been working overtime for most of your life, constantly attending to others while rarely being attended to yourself. And tonight, you don't have to be vigilant. You don't have to scan the room or read anyone's emotional state or adjust your behavior. You can simply be here, breathing, resting, letting your nervous system finally settle. Let your face relax completely. Let your jaw hang loose. Let your tongue rest soft. Let your eyes sink deeper into rest behind closed lids. You don't need to figure out how to be less vigilant. You don't need to solve this pattern tonight. You can simply notice that it exists, recognize that it's been exhausting, and give yourself permission to rest from it, at least for now. Let your breath deepen. Let your body grow heavier. Let your awareness become softer, less sharp, more diffuse. You're safe here. You can rest completely. You can let go. When attention was inconsistent in childhood, the brain tries to identify patterns. It asks, when do people notice me? When do they respond? And it finds answers. Maybe they notice when you're helpful, when you're achieving, when you're solving someone else's problem, when you're not asking for anything in return. Slowly, your sense of worth becomes conditional. You feel valuable when you're useful, lovable when you're easy, important when you're excelling. But when you're simply existing, simply being, without offering anything, there's a discomfort, a sense that you haven't earned the space you're taking up. This is one of the deepest wounds of being ignored as a child. You learned that your inherent presence wasn't enough, that love had to be earned through performance, through service, through staying small enough not to burden anyone. And that belief follows you into every relationship, every achievement, every moment where you wonder if you're finally good enough to be chosen. This conditional sense of worth shapes how you move through the world in profound ways. You become achievement-oriented not because success brings you joy, but because it brings you visibility. You become excessively helpful, not because generosity flows naturally, but because being useful makes you feel valuable. You become the person others can count on, the one who shows up, the one who never lets anyone down, but not because these behaviors reflect your authentic values. They reflect a deep fear that if you stop performing, stop achieving, stop being useful, you'll disappear back into the invisibility you knew as a child. The psychologist Carl Rogers wrote about the difference between conditional and unconditional positive regard. Conditional positive regard means love and acceptance depend on meeting certain criteria. You're loved when you behave correctly, achieve adequately, serve effectively. Unconditional positive regard means love and acceptance exist independent of performance. You're loved simply because you exist. Most children need a consistent experience of unconditional positive regard to develop healthy self-worth. They need to know they matter, not because of what they do, but because of who they are. When that experience is missing or inconsistent, children conclude that mattering is conditional, and that conclusion becomes the foundation for how they relate to themselves and others for decades to come. You might notice this playing out in subtle ways. The difficulty accepting compliments because you don't trust they're genuine unless tied to achievement. The discomfort with doing nothing because rest feels unearned if you haven't been productive. The tendency to overfunction in relationships because being needed feels more secure than being loved. All of these patterns trace back to that core belief. I'm valuable when I'm useful. I'm lovable when I'm easy. I matter when I'm achieving. But what about when you're simply being? Simply existing? Simply present without offering anything? That state can feel unbearably vulnerable because there's nothing to hide behind, no performance to justify your existence. Notice your breath again. Feel how it moves without your effort, without your needing to earn it or deserve it. Your body breathes because you're alive. It doesn't ask whether you've been productive enough or helpful enough today. It simply breathes, sustaining you, keeping you here. Your heart beats without checking whether you've earned its rhythm. Your body holds you without requiring you to justify your existence. And right now, in this moment, you can let yourself be held without performance, without achievement, without usefulness. You can simply be here, breathing, resting, existing, and that can be enough. Let your whole body know this. Let your muscles soften, releasing the tension of constant proving. Let your chest open slightly, breathing more easily. Let your belly relax, no need to hold anything in. You don't have to earn rest. You don't have to deserve sleep. You can simply receive it, simply allow it, simply let yourself drift into it naturally, the way your body wants to, without any prerequisite of worthiness. This belief that you have to earn love, earn attention, earn space, it's painful, it's exhausting, and it's also understandable. It made sense given what you experienced. But tonight you can practice something different. You can practice existing without performing. You can practice receiving rest without earning it. You can practice being here without justifying your presence. And as you practice this, as you let yourself simply be, you might notice something shifting, just slightly, just enough. A small opening to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, your existence alone is sufficient. Let that possibility rest alongside you as you sink deeper. Let your eyelids grow heavier. Let your mind drift further. Let sleep approach naturally, gently, without you having to do anything at all to deserve it. By the time you reach adulthood, the patterns are deeply established. You've become someone who listens more than they speak, who gives more than they ask for, who assumes their needs are optional. You may be successful in conventional ways, career, friendships, responsibilities, but there's often a hollow feeling underneath, a sense that you're moving through life slightly disconnected from yourself. That's because the core wound of being ignored isn't about external achievement. It's about internal recognition. It's about the knowledge, buried deep in your body, that your emotional world once went largely unwitnessed. And the absence created a belief that your inner experience isn't quite as important as everyone else's. So you keep managing, keep functioning, keep being fine. But tonight, as you let yourself rest here, you might begin to notice something. The tiredness, the weight, the quiet grief for the version of you that never got to be fully seen. Adulthood brings a particular kind of awakening for people who were emotionally ignored as children. You've built a life, you've developed capabilities. You've created structures that work, at least superficially. But somewhere along the way, usually triggered by a relationship or a loss, or just accumulated exhaustion, you begin to notice the hollow space inside, the disconnection from yourself, the sense that you're performing life rather than living it. This awakening can feel frightening because it calls into question so much of how you've organized your existence. If you're not the capable, self-sufficient, undemanding person you've always been, then who are you? If you let yourself acknowledge your emotional needs, what might come flooding through? There's often resistance to this awakening. Part of you doesn't want to look at the wound because looking means feeling, and feeling means potentially being overwhelmed by decades of unacknowledged pain. So you might push the awareness away, minimize it again. Tell yourself you're fine, you've always been fine, there's nothing to examine here. But the awakening once begun doesn't fully disappear. It lingers, it surfaces at unexpected moments. It whispers truths you've been avoiding. You're lonely, you're tired. You've been performing belonging while feeling fundamentally alone. You've been managing everything so well that no one knows how much you're struggling. And the gap between how you appear and how you feel has become almost unbearable. This gap between appearance and reality is particularly painful because it mirrors your childhood experience. You appeared fine then too. You didn't cause problems. You seemed self-sufficient, and so you went unnoticed. Now, as an adult, you're recreating that same dynamic. You appear so together that no one thinks to check whether you're actually okay underneath, and part of you feels angry about this. Why doesn't anyone see through the performance? Why doesn't anyone ask the question twice when you say you're fine? Why are you always the one holding space for others while no one holds space for you? But another part of you knows you've trained people to accept your surface presentation. You've actively discouraged deeper inquiry. You've made yourself so seemingly self-sufficient that people believe you don't need support. The invisibility you experienced as a child, you're now creating yourself through your adult coping strategies. Feel your body now, how heavy it's becoming. Your arms feel weighted, sinking into the bed. Your legs feel solid, pressing down. Your whole body is releasing into rest, letting go of the effort of holding everything together. You don't have to hold anything together right now. You can simply be here, breathing, existing, letting yourself feel whatever you feel without having to manage it or minimize it or make it okay. Your chest might feel tight. Your throat might feel constricted. That's okay. You don't have to fix it. You can just notice it's there, acknowledge it, and let your breath move around it. This quiet grief you're touching, the recognition of the version of you that never got to be fully seen. It's real. It's not dramatic or exaggerated. It's a legitimate response to what you experienced. You lost something in childhood, not in one dramatic moment, but gradually through accumulated absence. You lost the experience of being witnessed, of having your inner world matter, of knowing yourself through being known by others. And that loss shaped everything that followed. It's okay to feel sad about that. It's okay to grieve for your younger self, for all the years of invisibility, for all the ways you learn to disappear. Let that grief be here if it's present. Let the sadness move through you without resisting it. Let your body hold these feelings the way you're being held by this bed. You're safe enough to feel now. Safe enough to acknowledge what was missing. Safe enough to recognize that you deserved better than the emotional neglect you experienced. Let your face soften around whatever emotion is present. Let your breath deepen. Let yourself sink even further into rest, knowing that nothing needs to be resolved tonight. Nothing needs to be fixed or figured out. You can simply feel, simply rest, simply allow yourself to be here exactly as you are. As you move into adulthood, you may notice a familiar dynamic appearing in your relationships. You become the stable one, the reliable one, the one who understands. People feel comfortable with you because you don't demand much. You don't create waves. You adjust to others rather than asking them to adjust to you. And while part of you appreciates being valued for your steadiness, another part wonders why relationships so often feel one-sided. Why you're the one people call when they need support, but rarely the one others check in on. This isn't coincidence. You unconsciously recreate the emotional environment you learned in childhood. Not because it feels good, but because it feels familiar, and the nervous system gravitates toward what it knows, even when what it knows is loneliness. This pattern of recreating familiar dynamics is well documented in psychology. It's called repetition compulsion, the tendency to reenact early relational patterns even when they're painful. Your mind unconsciously seeks out relationships that mirror your early experiences, perhaps hoping for a different outcome this time, perhaps simply because the familiar feels safer than the unknown. So you find yourself with friends who take more than they give. Partners who are emotionally unavailable in subtle ways. Work environments where your contributions go unnoticed unless you're solving everyone's problems. And you tell yourself this is just how relationships are, how life is, not recognizing that you're selecting and sustaining dynamics that feel familiar because they match your early template. The particularly insidious part is that these relationships may not be obviously problematic. People might genuinely care about you. They may be good people who mean well, but the dynamic is still off balance. You're still the one doing most of the emotional labor, still the one adjusting, still the one making yourself easy to be around. And they accept this arrangement, not maliciously, but simply because you've presented it as who you are, what you want, how you prefer to be. They believe you when you say you're fine. They take you at your word when you say you don't need anything. They don't realize that underneath your apparent self-sufficiency, there's someone who desperately wants to be seen, checked on, prioritized, without having to ask for it explicitly. Notice your shoulders now, how they've been holding tension. Let them drop away from your ears, melting down toward the bed. Feel your upper back relaxing, releasing its grip. Your whole torso can soften, your chest and belly no longer needing to be braced or protected. You can let yourself be vulnerable here in this darkness, where no one is watching and nothing is being asked of you. Let your jaw release completely. Let your face be smooth and peaceful. There's nothing to manage right now, no relationship to navigate, no adjustment to make. You can simply rest. And this pattern, this tendency to recreate early dynamics, it makes sense. It's not a failure on your part. Your nervous system is doing what nervous systems do. Seeking the familiar, trying to maintain consistency, operating on old programming that once kept you safe. You're not choosing these dynamics consciously. You're being driven by patterns laid down long ago, patterns that operate automatically beneath awareness. Recognition is the first step toward change, and tonight you're recognizing, you're seeing the pattern, and that seeing is enough for now. You don't have to change anything yet. Don't have to fix or solve or figure out different ways of being. You can simply rest in the understanding that these patterns exist, they make sense, and they're not your fault. Let yourself sink deeper now. Let your legs feel heavy, your feet completely relaxed. Let your whole body be weighted, solid, held. Let your breathing slow naturally. Let your thoughts drift and scatter, not holding on to anything in particular. You're safe. You can rest. You don't need to think about relationships right now. Don't need to analyze or understand. Can simply let it all be. Let it all fade into background while you move closer to sleep. There's often a specific fear that lives in people who are ignored as children. It's not always conscious, but it's there, humming quietly beneath the surface. The fear that if you ask for too much, you'll be seen as needy. If you express hurt, you'll be dismissed. If you take up space, you'll be too much. This fear keeps you small. It keeps you quiet. It keeps you hovering just below visibility. Because being ignored felt painful, but being rejected for asking feels unbearable, so you protect yourself by never quite asking, by staying easy to be around, by being the person who doesn't require attention. But this protection comes at a cost. The cost is intimacy. The cost is being fully known. And somewhere inside, you're aware of this. You're aware that people like you, but they don't always know you. Not really. Not deeply. This fear of being too much is particularly cruel because it makes you preemptively reject yourself. You don't even give others the chance to show up for you because you're so convinced they won't, or that they will but will resent it, or that they'll see you differently once they realize you actually need things. So you protect them from your needs. You protect yourself from potential rejection. But in doing so, you guarantee a kind of isolation. Because if you never let anyone see the full reality of your inner world, you'll never know if they could accept it. You'll never test whether your fear is accurate. You stay safe but profoundly alone, always wondering what would happen if you let yourself be fully visible. The fear itself makes sense. It's based on real experience. As a child, expressing needs didn't reliably bring response. So your brain learned that expressing needs is risky. Better to stay contained, stay manageable, stay small. This worked as a child. It minimized the pain of repeated disappointment. But as an adult, this same protective mechanism prevents the very connection you long for. True intimacy requires vulnerability. It requires letting someone see you in your need, in your hurt, in your messiness. And if your system has learned that vulnerability leads to abandonment, then intimacy becomes terrifying. You want it desperately while simultaneously preventing it from happening. Notice your breath now. Is it shallow, high in your chest? See if you can let it deepen just slightly, moving lower into your belly. Your abdomen can expand gently with each inhale, softening with each exhale. You don't need to force anything. Just let your breath find a slightly deeper, slower rhythm. Let your body remember that you're safe right now, that nothing threatening is happening, that you can let your guard down, at least for these moments, at least while you rest here in this darkness. The fear that you're too much, it's painful, it's isolating, and it's also understandable. You're not being irrational, you're responding to patterns established long ago. But tonight you don't have to carry that fear. You don't have to worry about being too much or not enough. You don't have to monitor yourself or manage how you're being received. You can simply be here, exactly as you are, without adjustment or performance or protection. You can let yourself feel whatever you feel, want whatever you want, need whatever you need, and none of it has to be expressed or justified or made acceptable. It can simply exist inside you while you rest. Let your eyes rest deeper into their sockets. Let your face be completely neutral, not holding any expression. Let your hands unfold if they're curled, palms open, fingers loose. You don't have to hold on to anything, don't have to protect anything, can simply let go, let yourself drift, let sleep approach in its own time, in its own way. You're safe, you're allowed to rest, you're allowed to stop being vigilant. everything can wait until tomorrow. Many people who grew up being ignored carry anger they've never fully acknowledged. It's not loud anger, not explosive or dramatic. It's quiet and dull and persistent. Anger at caregivers who were physically present but emotionally absent. Anger at siblings who were noticed when you weren't. Anger at yourself for not demanding more, for accepting so little, for learning to disappear. This anger can feel uncomfortable because it doesn't fit the story you've told yourself. Maybe your childhood wasn't that bad. Maybe others had it worse. Maybe you're just being sensitive. But anger doesn't require justification. It's simply a response to unmet needs, to the years of reaching and finding nothing. This anger often gets turned inward rather than directed at its actual sources. You become angry at yourself for still being affected by childhood experiences, for not being over it yet, for carrying these patterns into adulthood. You criticize yourself for being too sensitive, too needy, too affected by what seems like such minor neglect. After all, you weren't beaten or abandoned or abused in obvious ways. You were just overlooked. And surely that's not enough to justify decades of impact, right? This self-directed anger is actually displaced anger. It's rage at your caregivers, at circumstances, at the fundamental unfairness of a child's needs going unmet, but directed inward because outward anger feels too risky. Anger toward caregivers can feel particularly complicated. Maybe they're still in your life. Maybe they tried their best with limited resources. Maybe they themselves were products of emotional neglect and simply didn't know any better. All of these things can be true, and you can still be angry. Anger and compassion can coexist. Understanding why someone failed you doesn't erase the impact of that failure, and allowing yourself to feel angry, to acknowledge that something important was missing and that absence hurt you, is part of recognizing your own reality. Your anger is information. It's telling you that your needs mattered then and still matter now, that you deserved better, that the absence of attention was meaningful and impactful. You don't have to resolve this anger tonight. You don't have to forgive anyone or understand everything or reach some place of peaceful acceptance. Anger can simply exist here with you, acknowledged and real. Let your body soften around it if it's present. Let your hands release whatever tension they're holding, whether that tension is anger or something else entirely. Your hands can be soft, fingers gently curved, resting. Let your face relax, smoothing any tension around your jaw or forehead. Anger doesn't require you to clench. It can exist while you remain physically at ease. As you feel this anger or sadness or whatever emotion is present, know that these feelings don't need to be solved right now. They don't need to be processed or analysed or transformed. They can simply be here. Your body can hold them. This moment can contain them, and you can rest alongside them, breathing, sinking deeper, allowing yourself to feel without having to do anything about those feelings. Your breath continues its gentle rhythm, in and out, and with each exhale, maybe just a little bit of tension releases, maybe just a little bit of holding softens. You're safe here. You can feel. You can rest. Both are possible at once. Let yourself drift now, thoughts becoming less distinct, less important. Let the anger fade into background if it wants to. Let your awareness become softer, more diffuse. You don't have to stay alert to your emotions or monitor your internal state. You can let everything settle, let everything quiet, let yourself move naturally toward the sleep your body needs. Everything can wait. Everything can rest, including you. One of the most confusing aspects of being ignored in childhood is that there's often grief, but nothing obvious to grieve. Nothing dramatic happened. No one hurt you intentionally. There's just absence. And absence is hard to mourn because it doesn't validate itself. It makes you question your own perception. You wonder if you're making too much of it, if you're being unfair, if your memory is distorted. But the grief is real. It's grief for the child who wanted to be seen and wasn't, for the years of emotional hunger that went unfed, for the belief that formed quietly inside you that you weren't quite important enough to attend to. This grief for what didn't happen, for what was missing rather than what was present, can feel particularly illegitimate. When people experience obvious trauma or abuse, there's a clear event or pattern to point to. The pain makes sense to others, but when you try to explain that you feel impacted by not being noticed enough, by your emotional needs not being met, by the absence of attention, it can sound small, trivial, like you're making something out of nothing. And so you might minimize your own grief even as you feel it, dismissing your sadness as overdramatic, your sense of loss as unwarranted. But absence creates real impact. What didn't happen matters as much as what did happen. The attention you didn't receive, the emotional attunement that was missing, the witnessing that never occurred. All of these absences shaped you, and you're allowed to grieve them. Grief for absence is complicated because there's no single event to focus on, no clear memory to revisit. It's more of a cumulative recognition, a gradual understanding that something fundamental was missing throughout your childhood. Maybe you notice it when you see other families interacting, parents truly engaged with their children, asking questions, showing interest, offering comfort. Or maybe you notice it in your adult relationships, when someone shows you consistent attention and it feels so unfamiliar, so foreign, that you almost don't trust it. Or maybe you notice it in quiet moments like this one, when you let yourself pause long enough to feel the old ache underneath all your functioning. This grief may surface at unexpected moments. When you see a parent truly engaged with their child, when someone asks you what you need and actually waits for an answer, when you realize how much energy you've spent managing your own emotional world alone. Let yourself acknowledge this now, just for a moment. Then let it settle. Let your body sink a little deeper into rest. Let your breathing slow. You're here now. You're safe now. You can let go. Feel your body, how it's being held by the bed beneath you. Every part of you is supported. Your head by the pillow, your back by the mattress, your legs resting heavily. You're not holding yourself up. Gravity is doing that work. You can release into it completely. Let your neck soften, your throat relax. Let your chest feel open, your breathing move easily. Your belly can be soft, no need to hold anything in. Let yourself feel how completely you're held right now, how supported, How safe. The grief you carry doesn't need resolution tonight. Grief isn't something to solve. It's something to feel, to acknowledge, to allow. And as you allow it, as you let it be here without pushing it away or trying to fix it, something begins to shift. Not dramatically, not completely, but just enough. The grief becomes a little more integrated, a little less overwhelming, and you become a little more whole, acknowledging all of yourself, including the parts that hurt, the parts that long for what was missing, the parts that still carry the impact of childhood absence. Let your mind wander now. Let thoughts drift and fade. You don't need to think about grief or loss or anything else right now. You can simply rest, simply breathe, simply let yourself sink deeper into sleep. Your body knows how to do this, how to let go, how to rest, how to sleep. You don't have to manage it or make it happen. Just let it unfold naturally the way it wants to, as you drift further and further from waking. Inside many people who were ignored as children lives a voice that doesn't quite know how to ask for what it needs. Not because you're incapable, but because asking was rarely met with a response. So the neural pathways for expressing needs never fully developed. When someone asks what you want, your mind might go blank. Not empty, but frozen. Because you were never asked often enough to practice answering, so you default to quote 15 or quote 16 or quote 17. But underneath that accommodation is something else. Actual preferences, actual needs, actual desires. They just learn to stay quiet. This difficulty knowing what you want is not a personal failing. It's the result of years of not being asked, of having your preferences treated as irrelevant or burdensome. When children grow up in environments where their wants matter, where adults regularly check in about preferences and actually follow through on them, those children develop clear internal voices. They can access what they want because they've practiced articulating it and had that articulation met with a response. But when your wants rarely mattered, when expressing preferences didn't change outcomes, your brain stopped investing energy in that process. The voice that knows what you want didn't develop strongly because it wasn't needed, wasn't useful, wasn't rewarded. And now, as an adult, you might feel disconnected from your own desires. Someone asks where you want to eat and you genuinely don't know, not because you have no preference, but because accessing that preference feels unfamiliar, difficult, almost threatening. Because having wants means risking disappointment. Expressing preferences means making yourself visible in a way that your whole system learned was dangerous. So you deflect, defer, accommodate, and then maybe later, alone. You realize you did actually have a preference. You would have preferred something different, but in the moment, you couldn't access it. Couldn't voice it, couldn't let yourself matter enough to express a simple want. Tonight, you don't need to speak your wants or needs. You don't need to figure them out or articulate them or make them known. You can simply know they're there, know they matter, even if they're quiet, even if they're hard to access, even if they've learned to hide. They exist, and they're legitimate. You have preferences, you have needs, you have desires. They've just been silenced for so long that they feel unfamiliar, but they're real, and you're allowed to have them even if you're not ready yet to express them. Let your shoulders drop now. Let your face soften. Let yourself feel how your body is being held by this bed, this pillow, this quiet space. There's nothing you need to do, nothing you need to prove, nothing you need to figure out or express or make known. You can simply rest here, breathing quietly, existing without performance, being without justification. Your body is heavy now. Your arms feel weighted. Your legs feel solid. Everything is sinking down, releasing, letting go. And as you sink, as you soften, as you let yourself be held, maybe you notice something. A quiet recognition that you matter, not because of what you do or provide or achieve, but simply because you exist. Your existence is sufficient. Your being here is enough. You don't need anyone's permission to matter, don't need to earn the right to have needs. You've always mattered. You've always been worthy of attention and care. The absence you experienced wasn't about your worth. It was about limitations in others, in circumstances, in resources. You were enough then. You're enough now. And tonight you can rest in that sufficiency. Let yourself be held by it. Let it support you as you drift towards sleep. Perhaps one of the most persistent patterns is the way you dismiss yourself before anyone else can. Someone compliments you and you deflect. Someone notices your effort and you minimize it. Someone expresses concern and you reassure them you're fine. This isn't modesty, it's protection. If you dismiss yourself first, no one else gets the chance to. If you make yourself small preemptively, you control the narrative. But this protection has become a prison. Because now you can't quite let praise in, can't quite believe care when it's offered, can't quite accept that maybe, possibly, you're worth the attention you were never given. This self-dismissal operates automatically beneath conscious awareness. Someone says you did well, and before you can even register the compliment, you're explaining it away. Oh, it was nothing. Anyone could have done it. I just got lucky. The deflection happens so quickly that you don't even notice you're doing it. And over time, this creates a barrier where positive feedback literally cannot land. It hits your dismissal mechanism and bounces off before reaching the part of you that needs to hear it. You've become so effective at protecting yourself from potential rejection that you've also protected yourself from genuine appreciation, real care, authentic connection. The self-dismissal also shows up in how you talk about your struggles. You preface every difficulty with minimization. I know this isn't a big deal, but I'm probably overreacting, but it's not as bad as what others deal with. But you can't just state your experience directly. You have to minimize it first, dismiss its significance, apologize for even mentioning it. This comes from years of believing your internal experience isn't important enough to merit attention. But the constant self-minimization reinforces that belief. Every time you dismiss yourself, you're telling yourself again that your experience doesn't really matter. You're doing to yourself what was done to you. You don't have to change this pattern tonight. You can simply notice it exists. Notice how it feels in your body when you think about receiving a compliment or expressing a difficulty. Maybe there's tightness in your chest. Maybe there's tension in your throat. Maybe there's a heaviness in your stomach. Just notice. Just acknowledge. You don't need to fix anything. Don't need to immediately start accepting compliments or stating needs directly. You can simply recognize that this dismissal pattern exists, understand where it came from, and let that understanding settle gently. Let your eyes rest now. Let them sink deeper into their sockets, not looking at anything, not focusing on anything, just resting closed and still. Let your face be completely neutral, smooth and peaceful. Let your jaw hang loose. Your tongue rest soft in your mouth. Your whole face can relax, releasing any expression, any holding, any tension. And as your face softens, maybe your whole body follows. Maybe everything becomes a little heavier, a little looser, a little more at ease. You're safe here. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to stop being on guard, stop monitoring, stop managing. You can simply be, simply breathe, simply drift. And as you drift, as your awareness becomes softer and more diffuse, you might notice that thoughts are slowing down. Ideas are becoming less distinct. Your mind is beginning to wander in that particular way that happens right before sleep, where nothing quite makes complete sense, but nothing needs to. You can let yourself float in that space, not quite awake, not quite asleep, just drifting gently between states, held by this darkness, supported by this moment, allowed to completely let go. There's a particular kind of loneliness that people who were ignored in childhood often experience. It's not the loneliness of being alone, it's the loneliness of being with others and still feeling unseen, of being in relationships where you're valued for what you provide but not known for who you are, of being surrounded by people who appreciate your presence but rarely ask about your inner world. This loneliness is confusing because it contradicts the story you tell yourself. I have people. I'm not isolated. I should feel connected. But connection requires reciprocity. It requires being witnessed, not just being useful. This loneliness in connection can feel more painful than isolation itself. When you're alone, at least loneliness makes sense. But when you're surrounded by friends, in a relationship, part of a community, and still feeling fundamentally alone, it creates cognitive dissonance. You tell yourself you shouldn't feel lonely. You have people who care. But care and knowing aren't the same thing. People can care about you without really knowing you. They can appreciate what you bring to their lives without understanding what your life feels like from the inside. And if you've spent years presenting only your capable, helpful, together exterior while keeping your struggles private, then people's care is for the version of you they see, not the full complexity of who you are. This pattern often traces back to childhood, where you learned that your inner world didn't reliably interest others, so you learned to keep it private, to manage it alone, to present only the acceptable parts. And now, as an adult, you've become so skilled at this presentation that you've essentially created your own invisibility. You're hidden in plain sight, surrounded by people who think they know you, but really only know the version you've allowed them to see. And breaking through that presentation feels terrifying, because you've spent so long believing that your full self is too much, too needy, too vulnerable to be acceptable. Let this recognition settle gently. You don't need to change your relationships right now. Right now, you just need to let yourself feel held by this moment. Notice how your breath is finding its own rhythm, moving in and out without effort. Notice how your body is already starting to release tension you didn't know you were carrying. Your shoulders are dropping, your back is settling, your legs are growing heavier. Everything is beginning to soften and let go. The loneliness you feel makes sense. It's the natural result of being known only partially, valued for service more than substance, appreciated but not fully witnessed. And recognizing that loneliness, naming it, allowing yourself to feel it without immediately trying to fix it or explain it away, that's important. That's real. Your loneliness matters. Your longing to be truly known matters. And tonight, you don't have to do anything about it. You don't have to figure out how to be more visible or vulnerable. You can simply acknowledge that the loneliness exists, that it's painful, that it makes sense. And then you can let yourself rest. Let your whole body know that rest is available now. Let your arms feel heavy, sinking into the bed. Let your legs feel weighted, pressing down. Let your chest feel open, your breathing deep and easy. Let your belly be soft, no holding, no tension. Your whole self can release into this moment, into this darkness, into this quiet space where nothing is asked of you and everything can simply be. You're safe. You can rest. You're held by this moment. You can let go completely now, drifting deeper, moving naturally toward the sleep you need. Here's something that might feel both relieving and sad. You've been waiting for permission. Permission to matter. Permission to have needs. Permission to be seen without having to earn it through performance or usefulness or staying small. You've been waiting for someone to say, you can speak now, you can want things now, you can take up space now. But that permission doesn't come from outside. It can't, because the people who should have given it to you didn't know how, or couldn't, or were too lost in their own struggles to notice you needed it. So now, as an adult, you're learning something difficult. You have to give yourself that permission. This realization can feel both empowering and overwhelming. Empowering because it means you're not permanently trapped by early experiences, that change is possible, that you can learn new ways of being even now. But overwhelming because it means no one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to suddenly see you clearly and offer what was missing. No external validation will finally make you feel worthy enough. The work of permission giving is internal. It's you learning to recognize your own needs as legitimate, your own wants as mattering, your own experience as important enough to acknowledge and honor. But this doesn't have to happen all at once. Permission giving is a practice, not a single decision. It's the small moments where you notice yourself minimizing and gently push back, where you feel a need arising and don't immediately dismiss it, where you recognize a preference and allow it to exist without apologizing for it. Each small instance of self-permission is practice, and over time, with repetition, the practice becomes easier, more natural, more integrated. You don't have to be perfect at it. You don't have to suddenly become someone who boldly states every need and confidently takes up space. You can start small. Start with noticing. Start with allowing yourself to internally acknowledge what you feel even if you're not ready to express it. And maybe tonight is one of those moments. One small moment where you allow yourself to matter, to rest without earning it, to be here without justifying it. Let your whole body soften into that permission. Let your jaw release, hanging loose. Let your hands unfold if they're curled, palms open, fingers gently curved. Let your feet relax all the way to your toes, nothing holding, everything soft. You don't need anyone's approval to rest. You don't need to have done enough today to deserve sleep. You can simply receive it, simply allow it, simply let it happen because you're a human being who needs rest. And rest is your right, not your reward. Feel how your body responds to this permission. Maybe your breathing deepens slightly. Maybe your shoulders drop further. Maybe something in your chest loosens just a bit. Your body knows how to rest when it's given permission. It's been waiting for this. And tonight, you can give it what it needs. You can let yourself rest completely, fully, without reservation or condition. You're worthy of this rest. You're deserving of this peace. You don't have to earn it or justify it or apologize for it. It's yours simply because you exist, simply because you're here, simply because you're human, and humans need rest. Let yourself sink deeper now. Let everything become heavier, softer, quieter. Let your mind begin to drift, thoughts scattering and fading, not holding on to anything. You're safe here. You're allowed to let go. You're allowed to stop being vigilant, stop monitoring, stop managing. Everything can rest. Everything can soften. Everything can drift towards sleep. And as you drift, know that you're held by this moment, supported by this understanding, allowed to be exactly as you are. Your body has been keeping track all along. Every time you silenced yourself, your throat tightened just slightly. Every time you minimized your needs, your chest contracted. Every time you made yourself smaller, your shoulders curled inward. These physical patterns aren't conscious. They're the body's way of holding history. And tonight, you might notice them beginning to release. Notice the softness that's available in your face when you're not performing. Notice the ease that comes when you stop monitoring. Stop adjusting. Stop managing how you're being received. Your body knows how to rest. It's been waiting for permission to stop being on alert. The body holds memory in ways we're only beginning to understand. Trauma researchers talk about how difficult experiences get encoded not just in explicit memory, but in the body itself. The way you hold tension in your shoulders, the habitual tightness in your jaw, the shallow breathing that's become your default. All of these physical patterns are remnants of early adaptation, your body learning to brace against emotional absence, to protect against vulnerability, to stay small and undemanding. But these patterns can shift. With awareness, with gentleness, with repeated experiences of safety, the body can begin to release what it's been holding. And tonight is one of those experiences. Right now, in this moment, you're safe. Nothing is being asked of you. No one is evaluating you or judging you, or needing you to be anything in particular. You can let your body feel this safety. You can let it sink into rest without the constant vigilance, without the readiness to adjust, without the hyper-awareness of others' needs and moods. Your body can simply be, can simply breathe, can simply exist without performance or protection. And as it does, as it begins to trust that this moment is truly safe, the holding patterns can soften. Notice your face now. Is your forehead smooth, or are there lines of tension? Let your forehead soften, releasing any holding. Let your eyebrows rest naturally, not raised or furrowed. Let your eyes sink deeper into their sockets, resting completely. Your cheeks can be soft, your mouth slightly open, your jaw hanging loose. There's no expression to hold, no face to present. You can be completely neutral, completely at rest. And as your face relaxes, something else happens. The relaxation spreads, your neck softens, your throat opens, your shoulders drop. The softening in your face creates softening throughout your whole body. Feel your chest now, how it's moving with your breath. Is there tightness there, or can your breath move freely? If there's tightness, just acknowledge it. Don't try to force it away. Just let your awareness rest there gently, and see if, with time, it begins to ease on its own. Sometimes just being noticed, just being acknowledged, allows tension to start releasing. Your body has been working so hard for so long, holding so much, protecting so much. And tonight it can rest from all that work. It can let the holding go. It can trust that you're safe enough to soften. Let your awareness move down your body. Your belly can be completely soft, rising and falling with your breath. Your lower back can release into the mattress beneath you. Your hips can be heavy, settled. Your legs can feel like they're made of stone, solid and weighted, sinking down. Your feet can relax all the way to your toes, nothing gripping, everything loose. Your whole body, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes, can be in a state of complete rest, complete release, complete letting go. This is what your body has been waiting for. This permission to stop being on alert, this moment of true rest. And you can give it that now. You can let everything soften, everything release, everything drift towards sleep. Right now, in this moment, you're safe. Not perfectly, not forever, but right now. Nothing is being asked of you. No one needs you to be anything other than what you are. You don't have to be helpful or productive or impressive or convenient. You can simply exist here in this bed, in this darkness, in this quiet space. Your nervous system, which learned so early to stay alert, can begin to settle, can begin to trust that for these next hours you're allowed to let go. The hypervigilance can soften, the scanning can stop, the adjusting can pause, because there's nothing to adjust to right now except rest, except sleep, except the gentle weight of your body sinking deeper into comfort. Safety is something your nervous system has been seeking for a long time. True safety. The kind where you can fully relax, fully let go, fully trust that you're okay. That safety has been elusive because your system learned early that the environment wasn't reliably safe, that attention could disappear, that needs might go unmet, that you couldn't depend on others to notice or care. So your system stayed on guard, stayed vigilant, stayed ready to manage whatever came next. And that vigilance has been exhausting. It's tired you out. It's kept you from ever fully resting, even when circumstances were objectively safe, because your nervous system was still scanning for threat, still ready to respond, still unable to fully trust that everything was okay. But tonight, you can give your nervous system a different experience. You can let it feel, for these hours at least, that everything truly is okay. That there's no threat to monitor, no adjustment to make, no vigilance required. You're in a bed, in the dark, with nothing happening except rest. This is safe. This is okay. Your system can recognize this, and with that recognition, it can begin to settle in ways it rarely gets to. The hyper-arousal can come down, the constant readiness can ease, the tension can release. Not all at once, not permanently, but for now, for tonight, for these hours of rest. Notice how your legs feel so heavy now, pressed into the bed. Notice your arms, weighted and still. Notice your whole body, how completely it's being supported. You're not holding yourself up. The bed is doing that, gravity is doing that. You can release all effort, all holding, all tension. You can let yourself be completely held, completely supported, completely safe. There's nothing you need to do except breathe. And even that happens on its own without your conscious effort. Your body knows how to breathe, it knows how to rest, it knows how to sleep. And it's ready now. It's been ready for a while. It's just been waiting for you to give it permission. And that permission is here now. Let your awareness become softer, less focused. Let your thoughts become more diffuse, less clear. You don't need to think about anything in particular. Don't need to follow any train of thought. Can just let your mind wander and drift, not holding on to anything, just floating gently in that space between waking and sleeping. You're safe here. You're held here. You're allowed to let go completely. The safety of this moment can hold you. The darkness can hold you. The quiet can hold you. And you can rest deeply and completely, knowing that nothing is required except being here, breathing, existing, drifting slowly towards sleep. You've been carrying something for a very long time, the belief that you're not quite enough to be chosen without effort, that love is something earned, not given, that your presence alone isn't sufficient reason for attention. This belief has shaped how you move through the world, how you speak, how you love, how you hide. But beliefs aren't permanent. They're patterns, and patterns can soften, can shift, can eventually dissolve when they're met with enough gentleness, enough repetition, enough new experience. You don't have to dissolve anything tonight. You don't have to heal everything right now. You just have to rest. This belief you've carried that you need to earn love, earn attention, earn space, it's been heavy. It's shaped every relationship, every achievement, every moment of self-presentation. It's made you constantly perform, constantly prove, constantly demonstrate your worthiness. And that's exhausting. Because worth isn't something that can be proven. It's something that simply is. You're worthy not because of what you do, but because of what you are. Because you exist. Because you're a human being with inherent value, with a complex inner world, with legitimate needs and wants and feelings. That's enough. That's always been enough. The belief that it wasn't enough came from external circumstances, from others' limitations, from a childhood environment that couldn't or wouldn't see your full value. But that doesn't mean the value wasn't there. It was, it is, it always has been. Letting go of old beliefs doesn't happen through force or willpower. It happens through gentleness, through repeated experiences that contradict the belief, through slowly, gradually learning to treat yourself differently than the belief suggests you should be treated. And maybe tonight is one small instance of that. One moment where you rest without earning it. One experience of being here without performing. One gentle recognition that you're worthy of care simply because you're you. This won't transform everything. One moment can't undo decades of conditioning. But it's a start. It's practice. It's a small crack in the old pattern, letting in new possibility. Just let yourself feel what it's like to be here without performance, without achievement, without usefulness, just existing, just breathing, just being. Does something shift? Does something soften? Does some small part of you recognize that maybe, possibly this is okay? That you can be here like this without justification? Your body might know this even if your mind doesn't quite believe it yet. Feel how your body's resting, how it's letting go, how it's sinking into comfort without asking permission or checking whether it's allowed. Your body knows you're worthy of rest. It's trying to show you that, trying to teach you that you can just be, just exist, just rest without earning it. Let your mind wander where it wants to go. Let sleep approach naturally, the way it wants to, without you having to control it, or manage it, or make it happen perfectly. Just let yourself drift now. Let everything else fade into background. Let your awareness become soft and blurry and distant. The beliefs you carry, the patterns you've learned, the wounds you hold, all of them can rest too. They don't need your attention right now. They don't need to be healed or understood or fixed. They can simply exist in the background while you, in the foreground, rest, while you breathe, while you sink deeper and deeper into sleep. Your breath has been with you since the beginning. Through every moment of being overlooked, through every instance of silencing yourself, through every year of learning to disappear, your breath kept going, kept moving, kept sustaining you even when nothing else felt reliable. And right now, your breath is still here, moving in its own rhythm, rising and falling without you having to tell it to. You can follow it if you want. Notice how cool air moves in, how warm air moves out, how your chest rises slightly, how your belly expands, how everything softens and releases with each exhale. Breath is remarkable in its constancy. It's been here your whole life, never stopping, never questioning its right to exist. It doesn't ask whether you've earned it or deserve it. It simply happens because you're alive. And maybe that's a small lesson, a gentle reminder that existence itself is sufficient. That being alive is enough justification for receiving what you need. Your body doesn't require you to prove your worthiness before it breathes for you. It just breathes. It just sustains you. Because that's what bodies do. They keep you alive. They support you. They hold you through everything. And tonight, your body is holding you through this rest, breathing for you, keeping you here, allowing you to drift towards sleep without any requirement or condition. Follow your breath for a moment. Notice the gentle rhythm, in and out, in and out. There's something soothing about this rhythm, something steady and reliable. Your breath is always here, always available, always moving in this patient, persistent way. Let your awareness rest on your breath, just noticing, not controlling, just being with it. Feel the cool air as it enters your nose or mouth. Feel it move down into your lungs. Feel the slight pause at the top of the inhale. Then feel the warm air moving back out. Feel the gentle release. Feel the pause at the bottom of the exhale. And then the cycle begins again. In and out, in and out. This rhythm can carry you deeper into rest. Your body knows how to do this, how to breathe, how to rest, how to let go. You don't have to figure anything out, don't have to solve anything. Don't have to be anything except exactly this. A person breathing, resting, moving slowly towards sleep. Let that be enough. Let yourself be enough. Let everything else dissolve into the quiet darkness around you. Your breath continues its gentle rhythm. Your body continues its gentle holding. Your mind continues its gentle drifting. And you, at the center of all this, can simply rest, simply be, simply allow yourself to sink deeper and deeper into the sleep that's approaching. That's already here. That's waiting to hold you through these hours of darkness. You're moving now into that soft space between waking and sleeping, where thoughts become loose and unanchored, where your body feels heavy and distant, where the boundaries between you and sleep begin to blur. This is a safe space, a gentle space. There's nothing here that can hurt you, nothing that requires your attention. You can let yourself float here, suspended between consciousness and rest, not needing to be fully present, not needing to be fully gone, just drifting, just softening, just allowing sleep to approach in its own time, in its own way. This space is familiar even if you don't consciously remember it. Every night you pass through this territory on your way to sleep, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly, but always through this soft, blurry space where the waking world starts to fade and the sleeping world hasn't quite begun. It's a liminal space, a threshold, and you're in it now. Floating gently, not holding on to waking, not grasping for sleep, just being here in this in-between place where everything becomes softer and quieter and more distant. Your face is soft now, all the muscles completely relaxed, no expression held, just neutral and peaceful. Your hands are loose, fingers slightly curved, resting however they're resting. Your whole body is sinking deeper into the bed beneath you, held and safe and allowed to simply be. You don't need to do anything. Don't need to think about anything. Don't need to be anyone. Can just drift and soften and let go. Knowing that sleep is coming, is already here, is holding you gently as you release into darkness. Notice how your breath has changed. It's slower now, deeper, more regular. This is your body settling into sleep rhythms, preparing for rest. Your heart rate has slowed, your body temperature is dropping slightly, your muscles are releasing their last bits of tension. Everything is preparing for sleep, moving naturally through the processes that happen every night, processes you don't have to control or manage. Your body knows what to do. It's done this thousands of times, and it's doing it now, guiding you gently from waking into sleeping, from consciousness into rest. Let yourself trust this process. Let yourself float in this soft space, not trying to stay awake, not trying to fall asleep. Just being here in this gentle drift. The world is fading away. Your thoughts are scattering. Your awareness is becoming more and more diffuse. Soon there will be only sleep, only darkness, only the deep rest your body needs. And that's perfect. That's exactly right. You're exactly where you need to be, moving naturally toward the sleep that's waiting for you. There's a particular quality to this quiet around you now. It's not empty. It's full of rest and safety and permission, full of the understanding that you don't have to earn this, don't have to justify this, can simply be here, breathing slowly, sinking deeper, letting everything else fade away. The room around you is dark and still. The world outside continues without needing your attention, and you, right here, right now, are held by this moment, held by this bed, held by the gentle understanding that you matter not because of what you do, but because you exist. This truth is so simple it's easy to miss. You matter because you exist. Not because of your achievements or usefulness or performance, just because you're here. Because you're a person with thoughts and feelings and needs and wants. Because your existence is sufficient justification for care and attention and rest. You don't have to prove this. You don't have to earn it. It's simply true. It's always been true. And tonight, you can let yourself rest in that truth. Let it hold you. Let it support you as you drift deeper into sleep. Existence alone is enough, is sufficient, is worthy of rest and care and softness. Let your whole body know this now. Let every muscle soften, releasing whatever tension remains. Let every thought drift away, becoming less and less important. Let yourself move deeper into sleep where nothing needs to be figured out, where everything can simply be, where you're safe and held and allowed to completely let go. The darkness is soft and warm. The bed is holding you completely. Your body is resting deeply. And you, at the center of all this, can simply exist, simply breathe, simply sleep. All the things you've been carrying begin to feel distant now. The worry, the trying, the monitoring, the adjusting. All of it becomes less important as sleep approaches, less urgent, less necessary. You can let it all drift away for now. Let it fade into the background like sounds from another room, barely there, hardly noticed. What remains is simple. Your body breathing, your heart beating, your mind growing quieter and softer and more diffuse. There's nothing you need to hold on to anymore, nothing you need to protect, nothing you need to manage. All the patterns we've explored tonight, all the ways you learned to disappear, all the adaptations you made to survive childhood emotional neglect, they can rest now. They don't need your attention. They don't need to be solved or healed or transformed right now. They can simply be existing in the background while you rest in the foreground. Everything can wait until tomorrow. Everything can pause for these hours of sleep. All the complexity, all the pain, all the unfinished business of healing and changing and growing, all of it can wait. Right now, there's only this breathing, this resting, this gentle dissolving into sleep. Everything can rest now. Everything can soften. Everything can dissolve into this gentle darkness that's holding you, surrounding you, inviting you deeper into sleep. Let yourself accept that invitation. Let yourself sink. Let yourself release completely into rest, knowing that you're safe here, knowing that nothing is required, knowing that sleep is already wrapping around you like warm water, gentle and inevitable and kind. Your breath is barely there now, just the faintest movement. Your body is completely still, completely relaxed. Your mind is quiet, thoughts scattered and fading, and you're drifting deeper and softer into the sleep that's holding you now. Your body has always known how to rest. Long before you learned to stay alert, to monitor, to manage, your body knew the rhythm of sleep, the way consciousness softens and fades, the way muscles release and temperature drops, the way breath deepens and thoughts scatter. That ancient wisdom is still here, still available, still guiding you now toward the sleep you need. You don't have to control it, don't have to force it. Can simply trust that your body knows what to do, knows how to let go, knows how to move through these final moments of waking into the gentle oblivion of sleep. This wisdom is older than your wounds, older than your patterns, older than all the ways you learned to adapt and survive. Your body has been sleeping since you were born, maybe even before. It knows this process intimately. It's encoded in your cells, in your nervous system, in the deepest parts of your being. Sleep is natural, sleep is necessary, and your body is so ready for it now. It's been preparing all evening, all through this gentle exploration, all through this slow relaxation, and now it's ready to fully let go, to fully release, to fully surrender into the deep rest that's waiting. Everything is heavy now. Your arms are so heavy, completely weighted, sinking down. Your legs are heavy, solid, pressed into the bed. Your eyelids are impossibly heavy, not even a flicker of movement, and that heaviness is perfect, is exactly right. Is your body's way of saying, yes, I can rest now. Yes, I can let go. Yes, I can sleep. This heaviness is safety. This heaviness is permission. This heaviness is your body finally releasing all the holding, all the vigilance, all the constant managing and monitoring. It's letting you sleep. It's ready to sleep, and you can trust it. Can trust that it knows what to do. Can trust that it will carry you safely through these hours of rest. Let that heaviness take you. Let it pull you down deeper into comfort, into darkness, into the complete release of sleep that's waiting for you now. Let everything fall away. Let every thought scatter. Let every sensation fade. There's nothing left to hold on to, nothing left to manage, nothing left to do except sleep. Deep, peaceful, healing sleep. Your body is ready. Your mind is quiet, and you finally can rest completely. And so you drift now, fully, completely, into sleep that's been approaching all along. This night is yours. This rest is yours. This gentle darkness that holds you is yours without condition, without requirement, without needing you to be anything other than what you are. A person who deserves rest, who deserves care, who deserves to be held even in their most vulnerable state of sleep. You matter not because of what you've done or what you provide or how small you've made yourself. You matter simply because you're here, because you exist, because your being in the world is significant enough, important enough, worthy enough of rest and gentleness and care. Let that truth settle into your bones as you sleep. Let it become part of your dreaming. Let it hold you through these hours of darkness until you wake again, slightly softened, slightly held, slightly more aware that you've always been worth being seen. Your existence has always mattered. Your presence has always been significant. You've always deserved the attention and care that was missing. And while you can't change what happened, while you can't rewrite your childhood, you can offer yourself now what was missing then. You can see yourself. You can witness your own experience. You can acknowledge that you matter deeply and completely. Sleep now. Sleep deeply and peacefully. Let yourself rest through these hours of darkness, held by the understanding that you're worthy of this rest, deserving of this care, allowed to exist without earning it. You're safe. You're held. You're allowed to let go completely. The night is yours. The rest is yours. And you, precious and worthy and seen, can sleep now, deeply and well, knowing that you've always mattered, you've always been enough, you've always been worth being seen.